Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really personal, something a lot of us feel, but maybe don't talk about much. That feeling of loneliness and asking yourself, why can't I make friends?
Mhm.
If that sounds familiar, please know you're definitely not broken. And you are so not alone in feeling this way.
That's exactly right. Building, a meaningful social life as an adult, it's tough. It really is. It's often this mix of like internal stuff, fears, anxieties, but also real world problems like time, energy, and maybe skills we just haven't quite learned. So our goal here is to unpack these barriers, hopefully with some self-compassion, and then look at some real actionable ways forward.
Okay, let's do that. Let's unpack it. Starting with those internal barriers, the
Yeah.
stuff inside our own heads. What's like the biggest pattern you see holding people back?
Well, it so often comes back to fear, doesn't it? Social anxiety is a big one, and it's more than just being shy. It's almost like this internal alarm goes off,
Yeah.
flooding you with what ifs, fear of judgment, fear of being rejected. It stops you from just being yourself.
Right. And that ties into self-esteem too, I imagine.
Absolutely. If you've got this core belief that maybe you're not worthy or you're boring or too much, that negative self-talk, it can unconsciously sabotage things before they even get started.
Makes sense.
And then there's something I sometimes call the introvert's dilemma.
Okay, what's that?
It's not about shyness necessarily, it's about energy. Socializing genuinely drains your sort of social battery, which is totally fine, but it can look like disinterest to others, right? And it limits how much you can realistically put yourself out there.
That's a really important distinction.
Yeah. And, past experiences matter too. If you've been hurt before, trust issues can build up these walls, makes it really hard to be vulnerable, which you kind of need for deep connection. Sometimes you even get that vulnerability hangover after opening up.
Oh, yeah. The feeling of regret or overexposure.
Exactly. And that makes you pull back the next time.
Okay, so the internal stuff is huge. But what about when you feel like you've mostly got that handled, but it's still not happening? Is the world just like set up against making friends as an adult?
You've really hit on something there. If we look at the bigger picture, think about school or university.
Right. Built-in social structure.
Exactly. Constant low-stakes interactions, adult life, our routines, work, home, errands. They
Yeah.
often don't have those natural meeting points anymore.
Totally. It's like the structured environments just collapse.
They do. And then there's just the sheer scarcity of time and energy. We're all juggling so much.
Oh, tell me about it. Trying to schedule a coffee can feel like coordinating a moon landing sometimes.
Right. And it takes time. There was that study. It suggested something like over 200 hours of interaction to form a close friendship.
Wow, 200 hours. That's a lot when you're already stretched thin.
It really is. Plus, life changes. You move to a new city, start a new job, become a parent.
Big transitions.
Huge triggers for loneliness. Your old circle feels distant, and finding a new one feels, well, daunting. You're starting from scratch.
Okay, so it's clear adult life doesn't just hand us friends, it sounds like. Friendship is actually a skill we need to practice.
I really believe that. It's not passive. Things like mastering small talk, people knock it, but it's that essential bridge, right? Finding common ground.
Little openings.
Exactly. And then having the courage to initiate, to actually say, hey, we should grab that coffee sometime, and maybe even suggest a specific time.
That takes guts, though. The fear of rejection is real.
It absolutely is. And that fear keeps so many potential connections just fizzling out.
So this leads to the big question, right? What can you actually do about it?
Okay, practical steps. First, and maybe most importantly, shift your mindset. Be kind to yourself. Reframe the goal. Maybe it's not about having tons of friends, of forming one or two really authentic connections.
Quality over quantity.
Precisely. And try to internalize that rejection. It usually isn't personal. It's often just about incompatibility, not about your worth.
That's a helpful reframe. What else?
Become an architect of opportunity. Since life doesn't provide the spaces, you create them. Join things. Classes, clubs, volunteer groups. Based on stuff you genuinely care about.
So you meet people with shared interests.
Yes. And crucially, it provides recurring contact. That's key. Seeing people regularly.
Right, right. But joining a club, that can feel like another chore when you're already tired. How do you just start?
That's a very real challenge, which is why practicing micro-interactions is so useful.
Micro-interactions, like
Tiny things. Low stakes. Compliment the barista on their cool pin. Smile and nod at a neighbor. Make brief eye contact with someone in line. These little moments, they build your social confidence muscle without being this huge commitment. It greases the wheels, you
Yeah.
know?
Okay. Like little warm-ups for the social muscle.
Exactly like that.
So wrapping this up for our listener,
Yeah.
what's the main takeaway here? It sounds like building that social life you want takes time, definitely some effort, maybe a bit of bravery, but it is possible.
Absolutely possible. I like to think of it like tending a garden. First, you understand the soil, your internal barriers, external conditions. Then you choose fertile ground places with shared interests. And then you nurture those little seeds of connection with consistent small actions. If you do that truly, you can cultivate the friendships you're longing for.